Welcome to our deep dive into one of the most chilling and unsolved mysteries in San Francisco's history, the Doodler Murders. Picture this. It's the mid-1970s, a time of vibrant cultural revolution, but also a period marred by an undercurrent of fear and danger. San Francisco, a city known for its tolerance and diversity, is reeling from a series of brutal killings targeting the LGBTQ+ community. In this video, we'll take you through the dark alleys and hidden corners of the city, exploring the terror that gripped its residents and the elusive figure who became known as the Doodler. As we delve deeper into the case of the Doodler, it's essential to remember the lives that were tragically cut short. Each victim was a person with dreams, aspirations, and a unique story. They were more than just statistics in a crime report. They were members of the LGBTQ+ community who sought acceptance and safety in San Francisco. The first known victim was Gerald Kavanaugh, a 49-year-old Canadian-American immigrant. He was found on January 24, 1974, at Ocean Beach, a serene location that contrasted starkly with the brutality of the crime. Gerald was a quiet man, known for his kindness and generosity. His death sent shockwaves through the community, marking the beginning of a reign of terror. Next was Joseph Stevens, a 27-year-old drag queen and comedian. Joseph, also known by his stage name Jay, was a vibrant personality who brought joy and laughter to many. His body was discovered on June 25, 1974, near Spreckles Lake. The loss of such a lively spirit was a devastating blow to his friends and family. Klaus Christmann, a 31-year-old German immigrant, was found on July 7, 1974, at Lincoln Park. Klaus had moved to San Francisco with hopes of building a better life for himself and his family. His murder was particularly brutal, with multiple stab wounds indicating the ferocity of the attack. The community mourned the loss of a man who had come seeking the American dream, only to find a nightmare. Frederick Capon, a 32-year-old Vietnam War veteran, was discovered on May 12, 1975. Frederick had served his country with honor and had hoped to find peace in San Francisco. His military service and dedication to his country made his untimely death even more poignant. The community honored him as a hero whose life was senselessly cut short. Finally, there was Harold Gullberg, a 66-year-old Swedish-American sailor. Found on June 4, 1975, Harold's murder was the last known killing attributed to the Doodler. Harold had spent his life on the seas, only to meet a tragic end on land. His death marked the end of a horrifying chapter, but left many questions unanswered. These victims, each with their own unique story, were united in their tragic end. Their lives were stolen by a killer who preyed on their trust and vulnerability. As we remember them, we honor their memory and the impact they had on those around them. Their stories are a stark reminder of the human cost of the Doodler's actions and the importance of seeking justice for all victims. As we navigate through the harrowing tale of the Doodler, it's impossible to ignore the eerie sketches and signatures that became his macabre calling cards. These artworks, left behind at crime scenes, were more than just drawings. They were chilling reminders of the killer's presence and his twisted artistry. The Doodler was known for his ability to sketch lifelike portraits of his victims, an unsettling talent that he used to gain their trust. In the dimly lit bars and clubs of San Francisco, he would approach his targets with a friendly demeanor, offering to draw their likeness. The sketches, often done on napkins or scraps of paper, were hauntingly accurate, capturing the essence of his soon-to-be victims. These drawings were not just a method of luring his prey, but also served as a psychological weapon. The victims, flattered by the attention and the artistry, would lower their guard, unaware that they were being marked for death. The Doodler's ability to blend in and seem harmless made him a particularly dangerous predator, as no one suspected the charming artist of harboring such dark intentions. But the sketches were not the only signatures left behind. The Doodler had a penchant for leaving behind personal items at the crime scenes, further adding to the mystery. These items, ranging from cigarette butts to pieces of clothing, were enigmatic clues that baffled investigators. Each piece seemed to tell a part of the story, yet none provided a clear path to the killer. The combination of these sketches and personal items created a disturbing pattern that only deepened the fear within the LGBTQ+ community. People began to look over their shoulders, wary of any friendly stranger with a sketch pad. The once vibrant nightlife of San Francisco's queer community was overshadowed by a cloud of suspicion and dread. Despite the chilling nature of these clues, they also provided a unique insight into the mind of the Doodler. His need to leave behind a piece of himself at each scene suggested a complex psychological profile, one that blended creativity with a deeply rooted darkness. These signatures were not just random acts. They were calculated moves by a killer who thrived on the terror he created. As we examine these sketches and signatures, we are reminded of the duality of the Doodler, an artist with a gift for capturing beauty, yet a monster who thrived on violence. The haunting images he left behind continue to serve as a stark reminder of the lives he destroyed and the fear he instilled. As the sketches and signatures left by the Doodler began to paint a grim picture, the true horror of his actions started to unfold. The murders, each more chilling than the last, sent shockwaves through San Francisco's LGBTQ+ community. The killer's method was both systematic and brutal, targeting his victims in a way that left investigators baffled and the community paralyzed with fear. The Doodler's reign of terror began in the early hours of the morning, when the city was at its quietest. His victims, often found in remote areas like Ocean Beach or Golden Gate Park, bore the marks of a violent struggle. The brutality of the attacks was staggering, multiple stab wounds, indicating a frenzy of violence that spoke to the killer's deep-seated rage. Yet despite the violence, there was a chilling precision to the Doodler's actions. Each murder followed a disturbingly similar pattern. The killer would engage his victims in conversation, using his charm and artistic skills to put them at ease. Once they were isolated, he would strike with a ferocity that left little doubt about his intentions. The scenes were gruesome, with blood splatters and signs of a desperate struggle, yet there were no witnesses, no clear leads. The police were faced with a daunting task. The LGBTQ+ community, already wary of law enforcement due to the social stigma of the time, was reluctant to come forward with information. This lack of cooperation only added to the difficulty of the investigation. Despite the similarities between the murders, the police struggled to piece together a profile of the killer. The only consistent clue was the sketches, hauntingly accurate portraits left behind as a macabre calling card. As the body count rose, so did the fear within the community. Nightlife in San Francisco, once a vibrant and safe space for the LGBTQ+ community, was now overshadowed by a cloud of dread. Bars and clubs saw a decline in patrons as people chose to stay home rather than risk becoming the next victim. The city's sense of freedom and safety was shattered, replaced by a pervasive fear of the unknown. Despite the terror, there were moments of hope. Survivors, though few, provided crucial details that helped shape the investigation. Their courage in coming forward, despite the personal risk, was a beacon of resilience in a time of darkness. These accounts helped the police create a composite sketch of the Doodler, a face that would become synonymous with fear in the community. Yet, even with these leads, the killer remained elusive. The Doodler's ability to blend in, to appear harmless and charming, made him a particularly dangerous predator. The community was left to grapple with the reality that the killer could be anyone: a friend, a neighbor, a familiar face in the crowd. As we delve deeper into the story of the Doodler Murders, we see a community grappling with fear and loss, yet also showing remarkable resilience. The tragic events that unfolded during this time are a stark reminder of the vulnerability faced by marginalized communities and the importance of justice and support. As the body count rose and the fear within the LGBTQ+ community reached a fever pitch, the police were under immense pressure to find the Doodler and bring him to justice. The investigations were launched with urgency, but the challenges were manifold. The social stigma surrounding the LGBTQ+ community at the time meant that many potential witnesses and survivors were hesitant to come forward, fearing exposure and discrimination. The police faced a daunting task, piecing together a profile of a killer who seemed to vanish into thin air after each brutal attack. Despite the lack of cooperation from the community, due in part to historical mistrust of law enforcement, the police pressed on. They set up task forces, conducted interviews, and analyzed the sketches left behind by the killer. These sketches, while chilling, provided a crucial link between the murders and helped in creating a composite image of the Doodler. Public response to the investigation was mixed. On one hand, there was a palpable sense of fear and urgency. On the other, there was frustration and criticism over the perceived slow progress and lack of results. The media played a significant role in shaping public perception, with headlines that both sensationalized the murders and highlighted the police's struggles. In the midst of this turmoil, there were moments of community solidarity. Activists and leaders within the LGBTQ+ community rallied to support the investigation, urging members to come forward with any information, no matter how small. Their efforts were crucial in keeping the case in the public eye and ensuring that the victims were not forgotten. Despite these efforts, the investigation was fraught with challenges. The Doodler's ability to blend in and his methodical approach to selecting and attacking his victims made him a particularly elusive target. Each clue, while valuable, seemed to lead to more questions than answers. The police's frustration was mirrored by the community's growing sense of vulnerability and fear. As the investigation dragged on, the hope of capturing the Doodler began to wane. The case, despite the best efforts of law enforcement and community leaders, remained unsolved. The public's response shifted from hope to resignation, and the once vibrant LGBTQ+ nightlife in San Francisco was overshadowed by a cloud of dread. In this climate of fear and uncertainty, the legacy of the Doodler's reign of terror continued to haunt the city. The investigation, while thorough, was ultimately unable to bring the killer to justice. The case went cold, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a community forever changed by the horrors they had endured. As the investigation into the Doodler murders dragged on with few solid leads, a breakthrough came in the form of a possible suspect. This individual, whose identity remains protected due to the sensitive nature of the case, was a person of interest who matched the composite sketches and fit the profile pieced together by the police. However, the complexities of the investigation were far from over. The suspect was known to frequent the same bars and clubs as the victims, blending seamlessly into the community. He was described as charming and talented, with a knack for drawing that eerily mirrored the killer's modus operandi. Despite these chilling similarities, gathering concrete evidence proved to be a formidable challenge. Witnesses who had potentially interacted with the suspect were reluctant to come forward, still fearing the social repercussions of being associated with the LGBTQ+ community in the 1970s. This hesitance created a frustrating barrier for investigators, who were desperate for any information that could solidify their case. Law enforcement faced another significant hurdle. The suspect was cooperative, but maintained his innocence. Without a confession or definitive proof linking him to the murders, the police were left in a precarious position. They had a suspect who seemed to fit the profile perfectly, yet the lack of hard evidence meant that any legal action was fraught with risk. Public interest in the case surged with the news of a possible lead, creating a renewed sense of hope and urgency. Activists and community leaders intensified their efforts to encourage witnesses to come forward, emphasizing the importance of justice for the victims and safety for the community. The media, too, played a pivotal role in this phase of the investigation. Sensational headlines and in-depth reports brought the Doodler murders back into the spotlight, generating a mix of fear, fascination, and a collective call for resolution. The spotlight, however, was a double-edged sword, as it also intensified the pressure on law enforcement to produce results. Despite the renewed momentum, the investigation into the suspect ultimately stalled. The lack of conclusive evidence meant that the case against him could not proceed, and he was eventually released. The sense of frustration and disappointment was palpable, both within the police force and the community. The suspect's release marked a turning point in the investigation, a sobering reminder of the complexities and challenges inherent in solving such a case. The hope that had briefly flared was replaced by a sense of resignation, and the specter of the Doodler continued to cast a long shadow over San Francisco's LGBTQ+ community. The possible lead, while ultimately inconclusive, serves as a poignant chapter in the story of the Doodler Murders. It underscores the difficulties faced by law enforcement and the community in seeking justice, and the enduring impact of fear and social stigma on the pursuit of truth. The search for the Doodler would continue, but the road ahead remained fraught with uncertainty and unanswered questions. As the investigation into the Doodler murders hit numerous roadblocks, a myriad of theories and speculations began to surface. With the killer still at large and the case growing colder by the day, both the public and law enforcement were left to ponder what might have transpired. One prevalent theory suggests that the Doodler may have had an accomplice. Some investigators posited that the killer's ability to blend in so seamlessly and evade capture might have been aided by someone within the community. This accomplice could have provided crucial information about potential victims, or even helped to avoid police detection. The idea of a partnership adds an even more chilling layer to an already terrifying case. Another speculation revolves around the possibility that the Doodler stopped killing due to a significant life change. Perhaps they moved away from San Francisco, or maybe they were incarcerated for an unrelated crime. Some even suggest that the killer might have died, taking their dark secrets to the grave. This theory, while plausible, leaves a haunting question. If this were true, what other crimes might they have committed elsewhere? There are also those who believe the Doodler might have been someone with a deep-seated hatred towards the LGBTQ+ community. This theory is bolstered by the brutality of the murders and the calculated manner in which the victims were chosen. The sketches left behind could be seen as a twisted form of mockery, a way for the killer to assert their dominance and disdain. Such a motive would make the Doodler not just a murderer, but a hate criminal, adding another layer of horror to the case. Psychological profiles created by experts suggest that the Doodler might have been a highly intelligent individual with a troubled past. Some believe the killer could have been a sociopath or someone suffering from severe psychological issues. The ability to charm victims and create detailed sketches indicates a level of sophistication that points to a complex and disturbed mind. This profile, while speculative, offers potential insight into the killer's methods and motivations. Despite these theories, the true identity and motives of the Doodler remain shrouded in mystery. Each speculation, while intriguing, is ultimately just that, a theory. The lack of concrete evidence and the passage of time have only deepened the enigma, leaving many to wonder if the truth will ever come to light. The Doodler murders continue to captivate and horrify, a dark puzzle that is yet to be solved. The theories and speculations, while providing some possible answers, also highlight the complexities and challenges faced by those seeking justice. The case remains an open wound, a reminder of the fear that once gripped San Francisco's LGBTQ+ community, and the elusive killer who remains a shadow in the annals of true crime history. As we delve deeper into this case, we must remember the victims and the impact these unsolved murders have had on their families and the community. The search for answers, while fraught with uncertainty, is a testament to the resilience and determination of those who continue to seek justice. The Doodler may still be out there, but the quest for truth and closure remains unwavering. As the theories and speculations swirled, the reality of the situation was grim. The investigation into the Doodler murders faced numerous challenges, many of which contributed to the case going cold. The police, despite their best efforts, were stymied by a lack of concrete evidence, witness cooperation, and the social climate of the time. The LGBTQ+ community in the 1970s was already marginalized and often mistrustful of law enforcement. This mistrust was compounded by the fear of being outed, which prevented many potential witnesses from coming forward. Those who did provide information were often hesitant and fearful, limiting the effectiveness of their testimonies. The survivors, though brave, were reluctant to share their experiences publicly, fearing social and professional repercussions. Furthermore, The forensic technology available at the time was rudimentary compared to today's standards. DNA analysis, which could have been a game changer, was not yet available. The sketches left by the Doodler, while hauntingly personal, did not provide the necessary leads to identify the killer. The police were left with few tangible clues, making it difficult to piece together the puzzle. The lack of media attention also played a significant role in the case going cold. The Doodler murders, despite their brutality, did not receive the same level of coverage as other high-profile cases. The social stigma surrounding the victims and the LGBTQ+ community at large meant that the case was often pushed to the sidelines. This lack of public awareness and pressure allowed the killer to remain in the shadows, evading capture. Internal challenges within the police department further hampered the investigation. Resources were often stretched thin, and the department faced criticism for its handling of the case. The lack of a cohesive and focused strategy meant that leads were not always followed up promptly, and crucial evidence was sometimes overlooked. As the years passed, the case grew colder. The fear and frustration felt by the community were palpable, but the elusive nature of the Doodler made it seem as though justice would never be served. The police continued their efforts, but the trail had gone cold, and the killer remained at large. The Doodler murders, with their complex web of challenges and missed opportunities, serve as a haunting reminder of the difficulties faced by marginalized communities in seeking justice. The case remains a chilling enigma, a testament to the resilience of those who continue to seek the truth despite the odds. The investigation may have faced insurmountable challenges, but the quest for justice is far from over. The Doodler may have slipped through the cracks, but the determination to uncover the truth remains unwavering. The lessons learned from this case highlight the importance of community support, vigilant law enforcement, and the need for continued advancements in forensic science. As we reflect on the challenges faced during the investigation, we must also remember the victims and the impact these unsolved murders have had on their families and the community. The search for answers, while fraught with difficulties, is a testament to the resilience and determination of those who continue to seek justice. The Doodler may still be out there, but the quest for truth and closure remains unwavering. While the investigation faced numerous challenges, and the case ultimately went cold, the legacy of the Doodler murders has left an indelible mark on San Francisco's LGBTQ+ community. The fear and trauma experienced during those years have had a lasting impact, shaping the community's relationship with law enforcement and influencing the fight for justice and equality. The survivors and families of the victims carry the weight of unanswered questions and unfulfilled justice. The haunting sketches left behind by the Doodler serve as a grim reminder of the lives lost and the terror that once gripped the city. Memorials and vigils held in honor of the victims keep their memories alive, ensuring that their stories are not forgotten. The case has also highlighted the importance of community solidarity and support. In the wake of the murders, the LGBTQ+ community in San Francisco banded together, advocating for better protection and recognition from law enforcement. This unity has led to significant progress in the relationship between marginalized communities and the police, fostering a more inclusive and supportive environment. Furthermore, the Doodler murders have underscored the need for advancements in forensic science and investigative techniques. The limitations faced by investigators in the 1970s have driven home the importance of continuous improvement in these areas. Today, cold case units and modern technology offer renewed hope that justice can still be served. The enduring mystery of the Doodler also serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of stigma and discrimination. The fear of being outed prevented many potential witnesses from coming forward, highlighting the critical need for a society where all individuals can feel safe and supported, regardless of their identity. As we reflect on the legacy of the Doodler murders, we must remember the victims and honor their memories by continuing to fight for justice, equality, and the protection of all vulnerable communities. The lessons learned from this dark chapter in history remind us of the importance of vigilance, solidarity, and progress in our ongoing quest for a safer and more just world. The Doodler's shadow may still loom over San Francisco, but the resilience and determination of the community ensure that the quest for truth and justice remains unwavering. By remembering the past and striving for a better future, we can honor the victims and work towards a world where such horrors are never repeated. As we draw this somber journey to a close, we are left with more questions than answers. The Doodler Murders remain an unsolved enigma, a chilling chapter in the history of San Francisco's LGBTQ+ community. The fear and trauma inflicted by this elusive killer continue to cast a long shadow, reminding us of the fragility of safety and the importance of justice. Despite the passage of time, the quest for answers persists. Advances in forensic science and investigative techniques offer a glimmer of hope that one day, the identity of the Doodler may be uncovered. Cold case units and new technologies are continually revisiting the evidence, seeking to bring closure to the victims' families and the community at large. The Doodler case also serves as a stark reminder of the societal challenges that hinder justice. The fear of being outed and the stigma faced by the LGBTQ+ community in the 1970s created barriers that allowed a killer to evade capture. Today, we must strive to create a society where all individuals feel safe to come forward, where justice is accessible to everyone, regardless of their identity. As we reflect on this haunting mystery, we honor the memories of the victims and the resilience of the community that continues to fight for justice. The legacy of the Doodler Murders is a call to action, urging us to remain vigilant, supportive, and committed to creating a safer, more inclusive world. In the end, the story of the Doodler is a reminder that some mysteries endure, but our collective determination to seek the truth remains unwavering. The quest for justice is far from over, and the memory of those lost will continue to inspire the fight for a better future. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and remember, some mysteries are closer than they appear.